The November 23rd metamaterials announcement, the corporate action should have at the very least included a record date, a distribution date, and a share cancellation date.
Standpoint, you know that better than anyone, Savvy. And then
Yes, I
and
do.
then yeah, and come to find out that Matthew Price of Fidelity sits on this committee and would have a direct hand in making a determination for not only processing a corporate action as deficient, which they did not, Savvy, but also
Yes,
in
I
declaring a
do.
U3 halt. Yeah, and come to find out that Matthew Price why this is so important. Sits on this committee, so and would have a direct and again, hand Hilltop and making a determination for not only
counterparty, their clearing is associated with Charles Schwab.
Savvy, but
Right there,
Yes, I
Charles
do.
Schwab
slash
now TD Ameritrade and Fidelity, like literally close up shop, go home. We got them. So it's impossible to argue against this piece. That's why I said, this by itself is big, but it's big, especially in association with the other names. Chris Stone happened to be the individual, and he was the only UPC committee member that I was aware of prior to this information surfacing. He was the only one, and he actually, I believe, declared himself as such, or maybe somebody introduced him in that SEC roundtable for the committee, and he talked about being part of that committee that's responsible for handling U3 halts, and he talks about it in an avoidance manner where he says, we have other exchange-like tools like FINRA's Rule 6490, where we can process a corporate action as deficient if it causes issues with the settlement or clearance process. Like, they literally could not lie to a group of investors and be caught more red-handed. And then Patricia Casamatis, so she, if that name didn't resonate immediately, not only was she on the FOIA responses from 2022 leading up to the halt, she goes all the way back to November 2021. She's the first
Yep.
disclosed member from Sam Dratty. She's the first disclosed member that was familiar and was talking on point between FINRA and the SEC in November of 2021. Kiss my ass. Please tell me that you didn't know. Please tell me. They are so caught. And again, whistleblowers, uh, the first declared whistleblower, whether you want to define them as one or not, is whoever released that FOIA, because that sitting as the nucleus of all of this, connecting all the parties together, and it literally takes out any excuse that they could potentially use of ignorance to what was going on. They knew before any corporate action was processed to the daily list, they knew exactly what was happening. And worse, they sat in the middle of it and orchestrated it. So I'm not an attorney. I'm not a legal expert, not my subject matter expertise. But if this doesn't scream RICO, I don't know what does. So anyway, hopefully the importance, I mean, I don't personally get really, really, really excited about data. Like, we find damning things every single day, right? It's every single day there's a new piece of data. I don't really get excited by that. This was like, had me shaking with excitement when it surfaced. So, and it's because of all the implications and all the connections. And so again, as much as, I think we do such an effective job of educating everybody, and that's what these spaces are used for, is to disseminate information, to coordinate, to make sure that everyone's well informed and that strategy can be conveyed, right? Of things that we can do and steps that we can take to leverage information or communication, outreach, whatever. It is really important that after everyone has some kind of sound understanding of exactly what I just explained, and the parties at hand, and you have all the links, and you backed up all your data, and you're comfortable with it, it's really, really, really important. The most important thing is to continue to do the congressional outreach and continue to escalate. Now you have that was a big missing puzzle piece right in the middle of all of this, is where are the conflicts of interest? FINRA obviously has been, but now you have the member firms, and not just the member firms, you have the actual committee members, and you can look at their role and responsibility at each of the organizations, and they're not little low man on the totem pole responsibilities. We're talking chief risk officers here of these organizations. So anyway, it's imperative that everybody does not take a victory lap, that we don't stop, that we continue to do the congressional outreach, that we continue establishing the relationship and building the case. Establish the relationship with your state judicial front. It's really, really, really important to do that. That's the ask. I didn't want to share the data last night. I did feel pressure to share it because I don't want it sitting. Like, yes, it could have potentially be further maximized and leveraged privately before all this data comes out. There's a guy, there's a guy on this list. I'm not going to say who it is. Everybody can do their own DD, but there's a guy on this list that, I mean, I would be nervous if I was one of the other 9 members. I'll say that. I would be really, really nervous. He's no longer employed with his firm that he elected to participate within the U3 halt decision back in 2022. And that's fresh, and it's not a healthy breakup. So, yeah. Anyway, we have all this opportunity. We have all this data. We have 10 names that are directly tied and responsible. We have the procedures. We know exactly what should have happened, and we know exactly what did. So now use all of this, and please, 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 if there's any way that you can show appreciation for having the data and all the people that work tirelessly in the background, it's by doing the work. Because a dozen people doing it, 2 dozen people doing it, it doesn't really make the difference. Everybody's got to put in the work. So please pick up the phone, do the outreach. Please be cordial. Please do not pitchforks and torch in the conversation. You need to be cordial. with them. They should be more willing to help and listen, because this is so clear and so easy to explain that everyone should be chomping at the bit. Now, we also have media. I got media blowing me up. Thank you, everyone. So this is going to be getting attention from a different angle than what's been exposed to this point. So everybody, do your job, perform your role as well as you can. Let's see how fast we can, get this momentum rolling and ultimately leverage it to get the necessary parties at the table. And let's please get some major tangible steps towards resolution. That's it.
Okay, I wanted to give you a chance to get it all out because I know that your time is limited, but I'm sure there's lots of questions. So just to be clear, Curtis, the current list that I'm seeing going around is actually the list as of today, the one that has Pasi Kasamatis and Chris Stone as advisors. But back in 2022, when this decision would have been made, of course, in June of 2022, was it not Katie and then Bill Woolman?
No,
So it's a different list. Okay, so where am I confused?
No, I'm not sure what you're looking at, but it's
Okay, do me a favor, go up in the nest, look at my post I just posted. I'm looking at a link of who the clearing firm advisory committee
it's not the
was
clearing firm.
effective
Yeah,
June
you're
1st.
looking at the wrong committee. It's the Uniform Practice
Oh,
Code
shoot.
Committee.
Oh, you're right. Okay, but back then it was Joseph Price and Paul Matthews from 2022.
I have no idea what you're looking at.
Okay, I'm gonna screenshot it and send it to our Telegram. Go
If
check
you
it out on
go
our Telegram.
so when you pull up the URL for the current Uniform Practice Code Committee that Vicki
Yep, I'm
Brinkerhoff
on
is
it.
on, copy that URL into the Wayback Machine. And then when you do that, it'll pull up 33 captures. And then you're going to want to click back to 2022. And I would click on, I believe it's December 21st,
Yeah.
2022, and you'll have the information.
Okay, just check your Telegram and look at the date down at the bottom for that committee. Never mind. Okay, guys, don't worry about it. I'll just take it out of the post. But guys, I did just post a post and break this down for you. Give me just a second, guys. I want to go delete that off of my post, and I'll get the right one listed there. Give me just a second. Want to make sure we're keeping it as factual as possible. Yeah, I had the wrong link, I guess. So. But okay, let's go to hands. I want to, if you guys have any questions specifically for Curtis, I want to make sure that you guys get those in while he has the time, and then we'll break it down a little bit more. First, I want to go to Notoriety. Good morning, Matt. Welcome to the
Hey, good morning. I don't have any questions, but I did want to kind of.
Well, I know you don't have any questions, but I know you may have.
I did want to add.
Overwhelming for you, right?
I wanted to add a little icing to this cake. I'm going to read something to y'all. A violation of 18 USC Section 1001. It's important to note that Section 1001 prohibits knowingly making any material statements to any of the three branches of the federal government. Knowingly making materially false statements to any of the three branches of the federal government in a matter within their jurisdiction, regardless of whether those statements are under oath, which would be the requirement for a conviction under perjury. So not only do we have all the stuff that Curtis discussed, we have a letter from FINRA back to Ralph Norman, specifically stating that no members had any advance knowledge of the halt, and clearly 8 members had advance knowledge of the halt. So we now have FINRA on a Section 1001 violation of knowingly making misleading or false statements to Congress. And wouldn't you know it, a bunch of the people who signed that letter had made very public statements about violations of Section 1001. And I'm going to be posting them all day long. And let me tell you, none of them say give them a free pass. So I'm going to make sure that to remind all of these people who signed this letter that at one point in their life, at least one, they had conviction about holding people accountable for making false statements to Congress. That's all I got.
Matt, this is the
Yeah, thanks, Matt. We've been passing this around, guys, but if you're not sure what Matt is talking about, if you look at FINRA's response, Robert W. Cook's response to the open letter to Ralph Norman, I believe it's the second paragraph, the very last line. The paragraph starts with FINRA's decision to halt trading was due to clearance, blah, 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 blah. Look at the very last line of that paragraph. It says, FINRA also did not provide advance notice of the trading halt to broker dealers, hedge funds, or any other market participant. There you have
I
it,
don't know who
folks.
this
Yep, I was
not a
putting that in
righty
a
guy
post
is,
this
but
morning.
he's brilliant. That was awesome. He should talk more often.
Right, right. He should, he really needs to like join us in our fight, you think?
Hey,
Anyway,
hey,
of
Savvy,
course, we
I have
appreciate
5 minutes.
everything
I
that
just
you
want to
do,
let you
Matt.
know I have 5 minutes and I got to drop for a call. But
Okay, let's go to Kim Kepp. Welcome to the mic. Good morning,
Hey,
my lady.
good morning. Now that Matt brought up the criminal violations, which is my favorite part, a lot of times they won't charge 1,001 independent of other violations, but we know that there are many other potential violations. You've got mail fraud, you've got wire fraud, you've got conspiracy, and I'm going to ask.
Racketeering.
Pardon?
Racketeering.
Yeah, and I'm. Yes. And then, so I was going to wait. I was going to give everybody the opportunity until Friday. But now that Matt brought it up, I think the red carpet's been rolled out. I'm going to put a post in regarding the Postal Inspection Service and a way that you can file complaints regarding mail fraud. Go ahead and file a complaint with the Postal Inspection Service regarding mail fraud. I'm going to put that down below, and if somebody can post that up into the link, sometimes I have a hard time doing that. But it's time to start filing criminal complaints. It's time to start holding them individually accountable. I mentioned this as well. If they acted out, so as law enforcement, if I act outside of the scope of my authority, I can be sued personally for what I've done wrong. Why can't they?
Hey, Kim, while you're here, will you also, speaking of complaints, do you want to mention IRS infidelity?
Yes. So I had an opportunity. I met with federal agents for 4 hours. There's a couple of different angles, and also I'm on part 1 of 2, so I need to make sure. I don't want to jump ahead. But as
Okay.
far as the fidelity, please file complaints with the IRS criminal investigations if you received a 1099, whether you, regarding the MMTLP situation, whether you ended up paying or not. If you received a 1099 from Fidelity regarding MMTLP, please file a complaint with the IRS criminal investigations. You can also add that to a mail fraud complaint, but I'm asking that you file a separate complaint with IRS criminal investigations. So it's time to start pushing hard on these guys. What they've done is just so wrong.
Yeah, and let me add to that, guys. It's not just those of you that had a cash or a margin account potentially that we've talked about this. You guys know, ad nauseum, 1099Bs, 1099Rs. But even if you're in a 401k, that you did not have a liability, meaning you did not owe taxes, or an IRA, they still would have sent you a document indicating the distribution of the NextBridge hydrocarbon share. That is what is important, not necessarily the amount that you were levied, but the fact that they distributed that share. That is what is important. Because if fidelity is over, and I say that intentionally for legal protection, if a fidelity is over, many believe that they are significantly, then they certified via those documents that they not only filed electronically, but they mailed to some of you paper, that they distributed shares that they could not have possibly distributed because they potentially don't have the certificates to back them up. I told you guys, I sent a brief to a top securities attorney who is extraordinarily intrigued. And I have to say that top securities attorney also has access to data. NextBridge has it as well. So, go
Yeah,
ahead,
and
Kim.
for whatever it's worth, you didn't have to receive a mailing for the 1099. The mailing just needs to be used in, and I'm not an attorney, but the mailing just needs to be used in furtherance of the scheme.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yep.
Kim. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. So again, that is for the Fidelity holders that you received a 1099 or a 10R. You can go on your platform. It should show your tax documents for the tax year. Guys, tax year 1022 or 2022. Don't look at 2023. It's 2022 because it was distributed in December. So if you have any questions, I'm not going to volunteer Kim. She can volunteer herself, but you can reach out to me and I can help answer those questions.
Hey,
So,
Savvy.
okay. Yeah.
I got to dip. I got a 10 o'clock call.
I got a question to Curtis real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
Curtis, how do we link the Texas rep to the broker in Texas?
I don't want to step on any toes. You know what? It's never too late to take the path to salvation. So I think this very, 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 very damning evidence might sway someone's opinion. And we talked about this over the last however many months that, I think it's a difficult decision for each congressional member to make. But when it becomes more uncomfortable to not take action or to, choose to stand in the way of progress for this community and justice, when it becomes more difficult to maintain that position as opposed to, maybe playing the role of a hero and issuing subpoenas or calling for a hearing, maybe being more publicly outspoken and getting some tangible progress and steps towards resolution. It's not too late for anyone, not even chairmen of certain select committees. It's not too late for anyone. So we'll see if they change their tune. Give them ample opportunity, but there is a firm connection. Someone already called it out in a response today to one of those firms. One of those committee members belongs to a firm, and maybe it's in their backyard. Who knows? We'll see, Marcos. But I think everyone has a chance to right their previous wrongs and act in support of the people that have been defrauded here. Is that fair?
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely fair. I was asking this question because this morning people were discussing that the list was 10 people, and I know it was a lot more than that. So I had to ask.
Sure as hell is. It sure as hell is more than 10 people. This is the first layer, tier 1, right? And then, tier 2 and all the connected parties thereafter. We're not even discussing the congressional involvement yet. Again, not too late. You can flip the script. Politicians flip-flop all day long. They're politicians. Let's give them a chance to join the right side of history here. And advocate for us and ultimately help facilitate a resolution. They do have that power. So
Curtis, before you bolt, can you assure the community that this information is in the right hands at the congressional level, Attorney General, as well as NextBridge?
I believe that's the case.
Okay. Just want to make sure. People are like, does NextBridge know? I'm like, of course they know. But they want to hear it from you.
Junk, that's accurate. That's an accurate statement.
Okay, there you go. By the witnesses of two mouths, guys. You got Curtis and Notoriety confirming that, yes, this information is in the hands of the right people in Congress, of our advocates in Congress, the Texas, or not just Texas, but attorney generals, as well as, of course, NextBridge Hydrocarbons. So well done, guys. Well done. Okay, Curtis, we're going to give you permission to go. Guys, I have updated my post. If you guys would please check that out. It starts with FINRA and broker dealers exposed. What if I told you? And there's a series of questions there, well as some images and links, including to the Next Bridge PR, and we'll talk about what the significance of the February 8th PR in light of this information, guys.
Hey,
So we'll go
hey,
through
Savvy,
this. But
kick
yeah,
people out one by one to force them, kick them out of the space one by one to force them to make a call and then let them back in after they're ready to share their experience. Please.
oh, because I'm so popular for kicking people out of spaces. Curtis.
I walked right into that one.
Yeah, you did.
All right. Have a good one.
You
Have a
guys
good one.
kick yourselves out of spaces. Yep, you too. Thanks, Curtis. You guys make the phone calls. Make the phone calls. Okay, let's go to Jonna, and then we'll go to Cece, and then Helya. Go ahead, Jonna.
I just want to thank Curtis and Matt for all the hard work and being on the front lines, and Curtis for being able to keep this under his breath for as long as he did. I know it was challenging, and his nightless sleeps he wanted us to be part of. But isn't Patty Casamadas, isn't she the one that didn't show up to a meeting with a certain company?
Could you be speaking of the emergency meeting that was called by
The time
DTC
is
on February 8th?
10
Yeah.
o'clock
Or on
a.m.
December 8th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it would have been, I don't know that we have documentation of who would have been FINRA's representative at that meeting, but certainly you would think it would
I
be Patty
believe,
Kalsamatis and potentially Sam Brady.
I believe. Oh, and Yvonne Huber, that was the other name. Okay. I was just playing
Yeah,
names in
Yvonne
my
Huber.
head from a year ago or 2 years
Oh, I
ago.
know, just so many names. so many names, right?
Well, and a
Okay.
funny another thought is Nicole is no longer with TradeStation as of last month. She has an end date on her employment.
That's very interesting. Have you picked up where she is
She's
landing?
owned her. She has a consulting firm that she just extended the dates on that. But yeah, she's as of May 2024, she's no longer with TradeStation. So.
And that would be Nikki Brinkerhoff.
Yep.
Nicole Brinkerhoff. Very interesting. You know, John, and I know you know her name. I don't. Who was the person at the FINRA that was head of compliance?
Jessica Hopper.
That left FINRA? Jessica Hopper.
And you know, I was trying to connect a link yesterday, but Matt shut it down that I was not correct. So I was like,
well, we know, guys, that she is on LinkedIn. So maybe she would be interested to learn of what we have learned about some of her former colleagues.
Well, and I've already reached out to see if, Nicole wants to, become a whistleblower for us. Let's see.
Well, if we are potentially talking about hundreds of millions, if trillions of dollars online, or that were on the line, could be. So we shall see. Anyway, guys, okay, let's take a deep breath. Okay, all the excitement. I know we're excited, guys. We have good reason to be excited. But certainly it's about, let's mitigate our expectations. Let this information work its way through the system. Let's give them an opportunity to deal with it in the manner in which they're going to deal with it. And then we can certainly react to it then. But we do have a responsibility to reach out to our representatives, as Curtis said, and our idea said many times, and to have our representative amplify our voice to Representative Jim Comer's office. And in light of this information, we have now demonstrated the very committee that potentially composed, reviewed, imposed the corporate action, used that very corporate action to justify the halt that froze us and our assets for 500 and almost 60 days now. And that those very, very people who FINRA asserts that nobody knew, but those people knew, and those people sit in positions of influence at some of the most nefarious members of the criminal enterprise that created the MMTLP fiasco. I don't think there is a clear definition of collusion and conflict of interest, and it goes so much deeper, guys. And SEC, we're talking everything FINRA, but please remember, back to the November 29th, 2021 FOIA drop. Sam Drady, Patty Casamades were in communications with the SEC regarding MMTLP and MMAT all the way back then. SEC cannot claim ignorance here, guys. And as I said to you many, many times, all the way back to 2021 or 2020, when SEC was investigating the Atlas 8 for market manipulation, they knew, they pulled the trade data, they knew, and they did nothing to protect investors. They walked us down a plank and then pulled the plug to protect their member firms that are now caught red-handed by their own admission, by data, by potentially whistleblowers. They're caught red-handed. And here's the thing, Congress knows. And come to find out, they've known for quite a while. Do your job. Okay, let's go to Hauya, or I'm sorry, I think I said Cece Hauya, then John Bowen. Go ahead, Cece. Good morning, welcome to the mic. Thanks for letting me know about that image. I did correct it.
Okay, yeah, good morning, everyone. You actually answered one of my questions. I wanted to put something together, exactly what to say to the reps, and you answered that question, so thank you. My next question, though, is do we know the date of the meeting that this committee had before they halted? Was it like on the 8th or 7th? I mean, do we have that information, the actual date?
I don't know if their meeting schedule is published, Cece. Surely there is some document somewhere, but I don't know. I have not seen it.
Okay.
But yeah, guys, if you want to dig in, that's what you're looking for, is you're looking for the UPC advisory committee meeting schedule. I just honestly, I don't know if those things are made public. Got to remember, FINRA is a private corporation.
Okay, and then my next
SEC is different.
I'm sorry.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so my next question is, and I think I already know the answer. So FINRA is not subject to FOIA request. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
The only way in which FINRA is trapped, like they were in our FOIAs, because those were FOIAs to the SEC. SEC is a governmental organization. They're a regulator, government regulator. FINRA, DTC, those are private corporations. So you cannot FOIA them directly, but you can capture them by FOIAing the SEC for their communications with those organizations. That's how we got them. Yeah, FOIA is a Freedom of Information Act for government organizations and employees. It does not include private corporations. Now that's, but I also have to say that, of course, Congress has immense powers to subpoena and things like that as well. So that, of course, is why we've been asking and begging for subpoenas for such a long time.
Okay, that was it. Thanks, John.
Yep, absolutely. Hauya, good morning, Hauya. Welcome to the mic.
Good morning. So the question is, Pete Sessions gave a contribution to R.A. Rubenstein, right?
What do you mean a contribution? I have no idea what you're speaking of.
R.A. Political donation. I don't know how they exchange money.
You mean Ari Rubenstein
Yeah, the
made
other way
one.
around. Yeah.
What documentation do you have for that? Did you see?
It was on Twitter.
That? Well, okay, but lots of things how you're on Twitter, but yes, his donors are made public. I haven't personally seen the documentation that Ari Rubenstein or a company he's affiliated contributed to Pete Sessions. I haven't seen it. How you? I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just haven't seen it. If anyone's got that documentation, feel free to drop it in the chat or post it in the nest.
Or was it
But I
McHenry?
do
Was it
want to say,
McHenry? I think it was.
yeah, McHenry. Yeah, I think you could be thinking of Patrick McHenry.
Okay.
Yeah, his number one donor is actually Apollo Financial. So you guys want to go down a rabbit hole, dig into that one. So, yeah, but let me also say this, how you, because you guys know I try to look at things at all different perspectives to get kind of a balanced approach. You know, even if I don't necessarily agree with them, it's something that I at least try to take a look at. I don't have a problem with politicians taking donations. Where I have a problem is when those donations equate to influence and affect the policies that are either proposed or advocated for by that politician. You know, these politicians don't necessarily control who also donate to them or their PACs. Usually it's brought to their attention and they will return such said donations. Not usually, but occasionally they do that. But I think we need to exercise a little bit of temperance before we go out with our pitchforks and you took money from this person. Well, what we need to see is how that influence is manifest in their behavior. That is where I personally have a problem with. And so I think before we also launch into accusations like that, we better darn well have our ducks in a row. We better have the proof. So that's just my opinion, my approach. Of course, I don't control anyone on Twitter, so you guys do what you do. But just something to think about, guys, especially when we are at such a critical time. You know, I had heard from sources a long time ago that who had direct first-person conversations with Pete Sessions. And a lot of the accusations that this community was making way back in the early stages actually served to discredit this community. They made a list of the top 10 accusations and sought about, you know, checking out each one of them. And the top, I'm not going to say what it was, but it was very easily refuted and was, for the record, refuted. And so, unfortunately, we need, especially now, we lost a lot of credibility in the beginning, which is maybe why it took so long for us to get traction. Right. So, we need to make sure as we ask questions and provide information that we are doing in the most factual based way as possible. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I just wanted to say,
And professional as well.
yeah,
And professional as well.
I just want to say I've got some meetings I got to go, but please,
Okay.
please, please call your representative today. Please, it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Hopefully, it's 45 minutes. But you know, get the information out there. Make sure they're aware of it. Make sure they understand the implications, and please have them call a committee of jurisdiction so that you know we can finally put an end to this. Y'all have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Appreciate all you do. He has a big boy job, guys. And not only that, every spare second he has goes to Mmtlp and then some. So we really appreciate Matt and all that he does. Okay, I believe it is John Bowen next. Good morning, John. Welcome to the mic.
Good morning. Quick question. So, my source in the original, long time ago in the beginning, gave me that idea that was telling me what Curtis just said was they were having to make the buy and sell through the phone. So, and I was told that it was Kennecord, and I thought I heard um, Curtis say it was somebody else. What, did I hear that wrong, or do you know?
I didn't hear what you're speaking of. Can someone else give some perspective on that for John? Are you talking when Fidelity required you to call the fixed income desk to place your orders for
Yeah,
Mmtlp? Is that
yeah. And then I was told that Fidelity had quit, and then GTS was the single market maker for it.
Okay, I don't know. I don't remember him saying that, but if anyone, and I know of a few of you who have, but if you had called the income desk to place those buy orders during those two different periods when Fidelity took it off the platform, and you happen to have your trade data, please DM me and see who the market maker was that sold you those shares.
Terry Yonkers.
Yeah.
Terry Yonkers is a YouTuber. He was buying, and he was a Fidelity holder, and he was explained that in his videos.
But did he indicate who sold him the shares?
Yeah, I was told it was Canaccord, and then they quit because of the conflict. And then GTS was the single market maker, which is illegal.
Oh, what do you mean the single market maker for that particular broker? Because we know that the entire time, for example, Citadel, Virtu were selling shares as well. So I'm not sure what you mean by single market maker.
If they were on
John?
the same network, they can get shares from each other. But if they were on a separate network, they'd have to call into the Pacific market maker to get the shares that weren't available in the open network.
Okay. Yeah, guys, just dig into that one a little bit more. Hang on just a second. Somebody's sending me some information. Give me a second. Hang on. Just trying to look at this really quick. Okay. Nope, I didn't boot anybody, John.
Okay, well, the glitching or the phantom, whoever did it, I don't know why. So,
Okay. But what I'm saying is we need a little bit more digging, John, because we know from trade data that was collected before the brokers started cutting off our trade data that OTC, Citadel OTC and Virtu were also selling shares continuously. So I'm not sure what you mean by having a one market maker.
it
So I just think
was
it needs a little bit more digging. That's all.
okay. Now I've already forgot the second one. I'll come back to you.
Okay, so hell yeah. You were talking about donations to, I think maybe you were a little confused, but we were talking about Patrick McHenry and Apollo and others. But also, yes, Hilltop Securities did donate $5,000 to Pete Sessions. So again, guys, so it's how is that information translated into, quite frankly, political favors?
When was the donation?
So go ahead, Helga. It was a donation. Yeah, so whoever sent that to me, feel free to DM Helga and forward that to him as well. Okay, Jonna, I keep giving you a mic, my lady, and for some reason it is not adding you. Go ahead, John. Good morning. Welcome to the mic. I am John Gold.
Hey, good morning, Chuck. Thanks for the mic. I
What?
glitched also. Can you hear me?
I can
Okay.
hear you.
I glitched also and got kicked out. So yeah, something's going on. But anyway,
Unfortunately, you know, like I said, I tried to get signed on to my iPhone as normal. I couldn't get signed on to my
no
iPhone.
worries.
And then yeah, now I'm on my Samsung. So I apologize, guys. I'm not booting
No,
anyone.
no.
Go
No,
ahead.
I wasn't. I completely get it.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
anyway, jaw drop this morning. Last night, as I was going to bed, I saw that Curtis was in Jack's space, so I stuck my earbud in my ear and thought I'll listen to this, and I laid down with the earbud in, and I woke up at like 2:30 this morning, and the space is over, and I had no idea what the hell happened. so
Right?
I'm entering today completely ignorant other than what I've heard so far. So
Okay.
my question, well, hold
Well,
on. My question is that I
okay.
get that they want us to call our Congress folks, and I'm certainly willing to do that. But is there a link or a website that has all of this information that got dropped listed in it that we can send our?
Not a website yet. but there are multiple links. Curtis has put them out. Marcos has put out a good one. I just posted one that I was going to go over now that we've got more people in the space, that kind of outlines the significance of what it was that we found out in the last, honestly, week.
So being an old bastard, I mean, is it politically correct or generally accepted that we can call the staffers and have them go to X to look up this information?
No, I honestly, I would not do that. I would not. I would go ahead and take a look at a few of the posts, go up and do a search on Mmtlp, do the latest, and find some of the posts. And I honestly, because they're not going to do that. In general, I would say they're not going to do that. So I would make sure that if you're calling your rep, that you have a few good talking points. You can download some of the content of those posts and put them into an email, but I wouldn't just send them a Twitter post.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't think that's the most effective, honestly.
I just wanted some general direction for us old people. So,
yeah.
All right.
Well, up in the nest, I'm going to actually take the opportunity. I will go to Costas and then Jonna, and then I'm going to take the opportunity to go through, now that we do have a significant number of people here in the space. I think we're around 600 or something.
Savvy,
hang on just
to
Yeah.
let him know that there's an audio clip that I posted in the nest that will go into what Curtis dropped last night, and there's obviously some supporting stuff in the nest that I posted for you. So he should be able to get a good amount of information from that. And if he has any blanks that need to be filled in, he can reach out to us to help him fill them in.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, I really do implore you, even if you don't understand all of the details of the MMTLP fiasco from soup to nuts, from, all the way back to the torching and potential corporate espionage that was happening with Torch, through to the events of last night. If there is only one aspect of that you learn and know of the MMTLP fiasco back and forwards, there are two. Number one, FINRA's violation of Rule 6490 in the creation of the corporate action and the halt based on their own deficient corporate action. And two, what we've just exposed is the people that were in the room, who sat and made that decision, both decisions, by the way, and then what their gross, disgusting conflicts of interest are. So, but I'll go through it, guys. Let's just get to a few more hands, and then I will lay it out for you guys. Costas, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're. Oh, sorry. Junk, you were just going over what I was going to talk about. So I'm actually going to do a ChatGPT quick little summary email that we could then send off to congressional representatives, basically outlining, FINRA approved the S1. FINRA then deemed the corporate action efficient, essentially early December. Only to have the same group come back and say, "Hey, this is now deficient, and we need to do a U3 halt." And it was a voted membership U3 halt. It wasn't systematic, wasn't automatic. It was a membership decision of the same people that went and approved the initial S1. So yeah, I'm gonna put together a systematic little quick little email, and I'll post it on my feed.
Okay, and just FYI, it was the SEC who approved the S1, not FINRA.
No, but FINRA was
So
part of,
SEC is right in the middle of this as well. I'm sorry.
correct, but FINRA was involved in the 4 rounds of review, though. So,
Were they?
Yeah, FINRA was part of the review process during those 4 rounds.
Oh, I didn't know that they reviewed prospectuses. I know they review corporate actions. They would have reviewed the 424B. But yeah, if you've got some documentation, I just didn't realize that they were part of the review of the prospectus as well. So yeah, I'd love to see that. So that's my own ignorance, Costas.
Yeah, so I'll put the other quick little email. Take it probably about half an hour. I got nothing to do today, and just put it out there. If people want to use it or take it and modify it on their own, that's perfect.
Yep, absolutely. And do me a favor, just kind of check out the post that I did. That's kind of a very simplistic. I'm trying to keep it simple. Of course, it's not for us. It's really for the general public. But it kind of outlines, a timed outline of these events as well.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna make it pretty
okay,
quick and as a teaser for follow-up discussion. That's my primary example. Thanks,
perfect.
John.
Great. Love it. Thanks. Oh, thank you, Kostas. Thank you. Let's go to Wendy, Bowen, and AMC. Go ahead, Wendy. Good morning. Welcome to the mic.
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to let John know there's actually a video on YouTube of the entire space call from last night, from Jack Smitty's space call. There was a link somewhere that I clicked on. Actually, I'm watching it while I listened to you guys this morning. It's MMTLP lobby. If you search in YouTube, you can find that link. I'll try to post it in the nest.
Okay, you can also post it down in the chat if it's
Okay.
easier for you,
Okay.
Wendy. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for it.
I have the link.
it's
I'll post it. I'll
oh,
post
thank
it.
you. It's almost 4 hours, but I watch everything on double speed because I'm type A and it takes a lot less time. But yeah, it's the entire call, so you can listen to everything from last night because I also fell asleep, so I'm listening to it again. The other thing I wanted to mention. So in one of the groups that I'm in, it's either the Florida chat or one of the other ones. Iron 8 posted a link to Chris Stone's LinkedIn. I actually tried to search on the three people this morning that I saw the names, Nicole and Patricia and Chris Stone. I couldn't find Chris Stone. And when I clicked on the link in the chat, that profile doesn't exist. So I wonder if Chris Stone deleted his LinkedIn account. So maybe John or some of you people that are better at LinkedIn can take a look. I couldn't find any of the three. So I don't know.
Nikki is under an abbreviated name. It's not Nicole.
Okay.
And I did post it actually, I think it was in the stock chat. I don't know if I posted it in the Florida. Let me look up Chris Stone again this morning. It was there last night, but who knows?
And then Patricia,
Yeah.
I couldn't find either. So I don't know. I am not a pro at LinkedIn. I never use it. So it could be me. Maybe.
So a lot of times it's easier to Google search the name first.
Okay.
And then it'll show you variations and it'll show you multiple people. The search application is not the best on LinkedIn unless you pay for a professional account. And even then, if you have a ton of contacts, I'll type in somebody's name and it'll pull up everybody whose name is Nicole. So it's not the best search application.
Okay. All right. I'm going to step down. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for all you do, everybody. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Wendy. Go ahead, John.
Okay, I thought of what I was going to ask you. We need if I'm not mistaken, it's E-Trade. We got the pictures of all of those too late to cancel orders that were
Correct.
really, huh?
Correct.
Okay.
It was E-Trade.
So if anybody has any other trades that are lower, starting at $1 or $2 or $10 or whatever, the lower numbers, even if you don't have the too late till cancel, it would be a good piece of evidence to compile, because the reason they use those too late to cancels is because they were extremely high numbers, and that gave them the exact reason to disqualify under that rule 11890, I think it is, something like that, because they were so out of the money, so to speak. And there's a case for that. I've got to look it up. I had read about it the other day. And so there's evidence that they literally picked that intentionally to do the U3 halt based on their first extreme circumstances ordeal BS. The second thing I wanted to ask is I still haven't heard. Well, thank you so much. I still haven't heard why the AGs are getting involved. What action and why would they want to? Typically, an AG will end up suing somebody because it's a monetary benefit for them to do such. And I still haven't heard the action of why the AGs are interested. They're not going to sue FINRA. They're not going to sue the SEC. So what is it that makes them interested is what I'm still lacking to hear. It just doesn't make any sense to me yet why they're getting involved.
Okay, so we actually did talk about it on the space a few days ago, John.
Okay, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I don't have the specifics of the AGs. That's being kept pretty close to the chest by the people that are working with them directly. By the way, Snail, yes, Ken Paxton in Texas is very well aware of the Mmtlp fiasco, and that's all I'm going to say about that. John, there's multiple reasons that they would be involved. They absolutely, they will sue for money. They have small cap and other companies in their state whose stock price has been manipulated, whose investors have been defrauded. And so, absolutely, they have cases for monetary damages. Also, think about the tax revenue that they have been denied as well. And so, that is absolutely one approach. But there are also some attorney generals who see the criminal behavior that's going on and are potentially seeking to pursue criminal charges under RICO statute.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And guys, just as a reminder, state attorney generals have subpoena power. And also we know that from, history in the past, that states, and I believe, John, you may have talked about this yesterday, that states, all the authorities that are not specifically vested in the three branches of the federal government rest in the states. And especially when they band together, that they have incredible power to go after the government and the agencies and the regulators. And so that is absolutely something that is on their mind and being discussed. But honestly, guys, I'm not close to those conversations. And so I can't really opine on it any further, but they are definitely engaged. They are definitely paying attention. And we will hear more about that potentially from our interview, guys, Wednesday. Sorry, hang on. Let me take a breath. Monday, June 24th, that is this coming Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, we are going to have a conversation with Wes Christian. And so he has been working behind the scenes the whole time. He is working with other securities firms, and they happen to be engaged with attorney generals as well. So we will hear a little bit more about that, John, and I'm certainly going to be asking him some questions about that. So. Okay, let's go to AMC, Matt, and then I'm going to go through and break this down for you guys, for those of you that may not be fully aware of what we're discussing this morning. Let me break it down for you, but go ahead, Matt.
I don't want to get off subject, and though I haven't been in the space in a while, I am following stuff you post and how far you are coming. Awesome job. But I was doing some research myself, and I realized that Metamaterials itself issued a Class C preferred at the end of January, which is really
Correct.
ironic considering the contract derivative timelines and the fact that they could actually use that as swap value naked collateral against the previous preferred B share. So I would look into why they allowed that. And I'm going to talk to some people in my community that know how to do all that DD stuff with the derivatives and see if they can find any contract values of swap collateralization between the preferred Bs and the preferred Cs.
Okay, so we actually dug into that quite extensively. I know Jonna did, so maybe Jonna, you, let me just turn it over to you to answer that quickly before we go on, Jonna.
I actually am going to hold back on that because that was more for the voting rights for the metamaterials, and I honestly think that they were doing it for some sort of share count or some sort of investigation on the back end, but I don't have proof of that, but, just my theory, that it was issued
Well, what we do have
is to...
We have the statement from the company.
Yeah.
That, and of course, not past the corporation to lie, but we do have a statement, Matt, that those were used specifically for voting purposes and that they were not attached to derivative activity. But I think it's still worth looking into. But yeah, that is specific to metamaterials and not Mmtlp.
Institutional voting then can control the company through overtake of that vote.
Yep, we're very well aware. Yeah, yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit in the last 2 months.
Okay.
Just real
But
quick,
no,
John.
it's worth digging into to see if there is potentially some attachment to derivatives. I don't believe so, but it's certainly worth looking into.
Well, I know they did it with the ape and the crypto derivative swap through.
Yeah, of course they did.
So I'm pretty sure if they're doing it in one place, they're doing it in all everywhere they need to.
Yeah. Really quick, guys, I do need to correct the record. I rolled right into the routine on this hump day. Yes, of course, it is June 19th. And so it is a market holiday. So those futures I read, I don't think are actually the futures. I think they were, I don't know what they were,
Junk,
guys.
that was
But
so
yeah, market
hilarious.
is.
I was like, gosh, maybe the market is
Yeah,
open.
market. Yeah, no, market is closed today, guys. So I apologize for that. Like I said, we're all operating on very, very little sleep this morning. Johnny, you had your hand raised, wanting to make sure that you had the opportunity to share what you wanted to share. I kind of derailed you with a question.
I think that I just wanted to, and I'm not thinking 100% this morning. Thank you, Curtis. No, I think we are going to renew the FINRA fraud and FINRA new hashtags.
Yep.
I've already put out the smoke and gun, and I'm tagging and posting that in the chat or the comments under certain posts. But let's add in FINRA new and FINRA fraud again, because obviously they tried to say that FINRA was protecting us, and I think it's pretty clear they were not.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Sika Star, did you want to say something before I dig into the news this morning?
Yeah, just real quick. Chris Stone is on LinkedIn, and I have upped my game to posting on LinkedIn and Truth Social. Yeah, go for it, John.
Okay. So guys, here's what all the buzz is about, why we're all tired and mainlining caffeine this morning. So of course, Curtis a week or so ago indicated that members of the community and himself had found some DD that indicated that we knew who, quite frankly, ordered the code red. We sent, and when I say we, guys, I'm talking about as a community. That information was sent to our contacts in DC. It was sent to the state attorney generals and also to Next Ridge Hydrocarbons. Curtis was giving Congress the opportunity to absorb and to process that information in hopes that it would be the straw that breaks the camel's back to order us a hearing and potentially subpoenas so that we could get that very, very, very elusive share count. That will be the best tool and weapon we have to get the best resolution possible to the MMTLP fiasco. So hints were dropped many, many times, but apparently last night the dam broke. So we had received some information that, and Curtis didn't mention that this morning, but FINRA is potentially pivoting in their arguments 18 months later from we enacted the U3 halt to protect some potential investors that may have purchased MMTLP on the 9th and 12th, not understanding that they would not be qualified for the distribution, when in fact, as we've proved time and time again, you guys know I harp on this, that those potential shareholders were never at risk in the first place. Because number one, the brokers had taken a position close only stance. We know that because we received the notifications and the communications that indicated that any new open positions in MMTLP that were executed on the 9th and 12th would be transitioned over for review and cancellation. So yes, a few people may have been confused, though, simultaneously they blame us for being too dumb to read a corporate action. And then they say, But you may have been confused. So they want to hold us responsible for the corporate action. But then they say, oh, but we're going to protect you anyway. Yeah, right. Anyway, guys, the mental gymnastics are incredible here. But anyway, not only did the brokers take a position that it was going to be position close only, so those investors' orders would have been canceled, but FINRA in October updated their rules. I believe it is rule 11892. I'm not 100% certain, but it gives FINRA the power, John alluded to it this morning, to cancel any and all transactions that they believe were done fraudulently or in error. So anyone who had purchased on the 9th and 12th, whose orders were executed and settled, FINRA could have gone back and canceled them one by one themselves. So these phantom investors that FINRA said they were protecting with the U3 halt were never in danger of loss anyway. And instead, here, the 65,000 investors plus, guys, we could be in excess of 100,000. We just don't know. And that's part of the problem, right? Is Nextbridge doesn't know how many and who their investors are. They've trapped us for almost, guys, in a month, we're going to be at 600 days, a little over a month. And so it's very clear that for 18 months, they've been creating a bullshit argument. And we've disproved it time and time again. So here, 18 months later, we got word that they were shifting their argument. And their argument is now, it's the issuer's fault. Well, here's where I'm going to cry foul on that one. If you guys go to the February 8th PR from Nextbridge Hydrocarbons, they indicate that they have presented evidence and they have evidence that FINRA is the one that composed and imposed that corporate action against the wishes of the issuer. FINRA claims that their corporate action was wholly consistent with Metamaterials and Nextbridge's wishes regarding the spin out, when in fact we know, documented, this community over and over again knows that it was not, and that the company has provided evidence to Congress, including correspondences with FINRA, that prove that FINRA imposed this BS corporate action on the issuers. They leveraged them. Okay. So now FINRA is trying to say, oh, it was a deficient corporate action. So oopsie, we really shouldn't have processed it, but it's really their fault because they wrote it. So that kind of is what opened up the floodgates, guys. That is what opened up the floodgates. And they finally burst last night on Jack's Space. So here's where we're at. We've always asked the question, who ordered the code red? Well, now we know. So there is a committee. It is FINRA's Uniform Practice Code, the UPC committee. And this is their jobs and responsibilities, guys. This is right from FINRA's own site. And guys, if you want to follow along, go out to my post starting with FINRA and broker dealers exposed. I'm going to go through this for those that are listening or those that are unfamiliar with the Mmtlp fiasco. It says this committee is composed of member firm representative. Who are the member firms, guys? Who makes up and pays for FINRA? It is the broker dealers and other members that process and facilitate transactions on the stock market and various exchanges. That is who the members of FINRA are. So the committee advises and makes recommendations to FINRA on issues relating to the UPC and the over-the-counter market trading processing of operations. For example, and this is the important one, guys, the committee considers issues related to the clearance and settlement of OTC securities transactions. FINRA's rule series on clearly erroneous transactions, guys, that is the one that I mentioned, that FINRA had the authority to protect those investors that may have potentially purchased on the 9th and 12th, open new positions. That is exactly what this committee does, is FINRA's rule series on clearly erroneous transactions and UPC corporate actions processing issues. That is not also what they're not including in this description, is this committee discusses and makes the decision regarding U3 halt. That is implicit in their statement where it says they considered issues relating to the clearance and settlement. Of course, FINRA claims that that is the reason that they issued the U3 halt, was concerns over significant disruption to the market and clearance and settlement issues. And we were protecting investors that didn't quite honestly need protecting in the first place. Okay. So that is what the UPC does. The UPC is the very committee that potentially composed, reviewed, and approved the deficient corporate action regarding the spin out of Mmtlp and NextBridge that was wholly inconsistent with the issuer's filings and public statements. So guys, I clicked, if you click on that, I believe that is the PR that NextBridge released. I'm pretty sure that's the PR that NextBridge released, where they describe what was done to metamaterials regarding that corporate action. Just a reminder, guys, FOIA documents clearly indicated that FINRA informed the SEC that they were blue sheeting as we speak, Mmtlp, MMAT on December 5th. So here you've got these corporate actions that are being processed, being developed, and at the same time on December 5th, they blue sheeted Mmtlp. They knew what was coming. Then, of course, on December 5th, that corporate action was released, not once, but edited and then released again on December 8th, indicating that trading would continue through December 12th, 2022. Broker dealers released communications with investors telling them they would be able to close their positions in Mmtlp up until December 12th, 2022. Of course, you guys know it well. Jeff Mendel, then vice president of OTC markets, appeared on Trader TV on December 7th, 2022, telling the investing public that they would continue to trade until close of market on December 12th. I put the link for the YouTube video there, guys. The UPC, the very committee that composed, reviewed, and approved what they are now trying to call a deficient corporate action, then used said corporate actions as their justification for issuing the historic U3 halt on December 9th that trapped 65,000 plus investors, freezing their assets for 55 days. Sorry, guys, missing a word. Twitter jacks with my posts all the time. Sorry about that, guys. We also know that, okay, sorry, I lost track of that. And then now we know, because this is what has been published, that members of the UPC committee, including representatives from broker dealers that have either been proven, hint, hint, TradeStation, or have admitted, hint, hint, another broker on that list. Sorry, we're not releasing that yet. That, hang on just a second, guys, that they have defrauded investors with counterfeit shares. What if I told you FOIA documents indicate one of the FINRA representatives to that committee was in communications with the SEC regarding the trading of Mmtlp for over a year before the halt? Yet neither the SEC nor FINRA made any attempt to warn investors there was a problem. We have it in the FOIA documents, guys. We have it in the FOIA documents. And then this is what Matt talked about this morning. Robert W. Cook, CEO of FINRA, told Congress in his response to the historic open letter regarding the Mmtlp fiasco that, quote unquote, FINRA also did not provide advance notice of the trading halt to broker dealers, hedge funds, or any other market participants. You mean except those who were on the committee that made the decision? I can tell you confidently that one of those firms in particular is a third-party counterbroker who clears trades for Schwab. Schwab is significantly, from the data that we've collected, significantly oversold. conflict of interest much? So we have TradeStation and a counter broker for another huge broker that is significantly oversold. 2 brokers, one that has admitted they defrauded their investors, who made the decision to create a corporate action that would create the justification for the oh shit button, for the U3 halt. That's where we're at. And that FINRA was aware the entire time. And that they have now lied to Congress, potentially implicating themselves in criminal infractions. Documented, in writing, irrefutable. And then I talked about this just a few minutes ago, and after 18 months, FINRA is now trying to pivot their argument from we halted the trading of MMTLP to protect investors to it's the issuer's fault. The corporate action we composed and imposed on them was in fact deficient. Oops. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. But here is the last point. That is why we need your phone call. Congress knows and has known for months, yet has failed to hold a hearing or issue subpoenas. After all of these questions, would you believe me if I told you? Well, we have proof and we are not going away. So that's where we are, guys. Okay, sorry took so long, but wanted to make it very clear to everyone who may be joining us for the first time or maybe wasn't around in the wee hours last night about what it is we're actually talking about. We now know who ordered the code red. And it is a very, very apparent why, and why FINRA acted in the manner in which they did. They were protecting their member firms, not investors, which is their congressional mandate to do. And they need to be held accountable. Go ahead, Halia. We'll go Halia number 2 and then gold. Halia, you loving it?
Oh, how you love that. I kind of lost my question. Let me hold this mic for a second.
Okay, no worries. Number 2, good morning, Rick.
Hey,
Welcome
hello,
to the
good
mic.
morning, everybody. No, I just wanted to, I didn't hear you guys mention yet that they canceled that meeting. That I'm just, and you know why, obviously. I'm just saying back in the day, Matter Materials and them were supposed to have a meeting with FINRA, and FINRA didn't show up, I should say. It wasn't a canceled. They just did a no-show on them. And
Yeah,
you
they
know,
ghosted it.
and you know
So in
why.
that meeting, just for clarity,
Yes.
Rick, that meeting was called by the DTC.
Okay.
They were concerned about the corporate action and potential settlement
Right.
issues. Meta Materials and their attorneys were called to that meeting. FINRA was called to that meeting, as well as NextBridge. And FINRA ghosted the meeting, and hours later, issued the second fraudulent
Yes.
corporate action, and hours after that issued the U3 halt.
And so I was just pointing out in this whole scheme of things that remember they did the no-show. You know why?
Yeah.
And that
Well, and Rick, sorry, you're cutting out, Rick. I think I'm over talking you because I'm not hearing
no,
you.
I'm
Go
done.
ahead.
Go ahead. That's all.
No, and I was going to say, Rick, that goes back to my point. DTC is also an SRO, a self-regulatory organization that has the congressional mandate to protect markets, right? To protect the efficacy and the legitimacy of markets and to protect investors. DTC was obviously concerned about this corporate action for whatever reason, right? And they called this meeting. FINRA ghosted it. Therefore, their concerns were not addressed, and they had no potential, unless there were behind door conversations, but we have no evidence of that either. But as far as what we do know, it does not appear that their concerns about the corporate action were addressed. So why did DTC not take their responsibility and chill or freeze this stock until their concerns about settlement were addressed?
Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing. I thought, well, why did they not push this, and why, if obviously they requested a meeting for Pete's sake. Here we go, and then the no-show, and obviously there was discussions obviously behind the scenes on that, but you would think if it's interesting, it seemed that the DTCC was trying to evidently doing the right thing here in our eyes with recalling this meeting, and then the no-show, and then from there on, the question is, did they join in on the fraud? Right. I guess is the way.
Well, Rick, I mean, to be honest, uh, DTC holds the keys to the vault.
Right.
They are the ones that have custodianship through Seed & Co. to all of your shares. They're the ones that have the records and the custodianship of everything. How can they not be involved?
Sorry about all the noise. I forgot I had.
No, you're fine.
I mean, I'm sorry.
No, the words that keep coming to my head, guys. You've heard me say them. You're probably tired of it. Criminal enterprise.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I mean, obviously that's when they made the choice, right? I mean, from there on. So all these people made choices, and now they're gonna have to live with them. So this is exciting, to say for sure.
Well, and again, it goes back to Rick. Now that this is in the hands of Congress, attorney generals, lawyers, the company, what are they going to do with it? How is this going to be leveraged for our reconciliation and for their accountability?
Right. And this is I will.
That's the question.
Yeah, I'll reiterate. This is why I trust I just will reiterate. I trust that this small group that holds this information privately away from us, that I know why, and so I just trust this process with them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying people sit back and do nothing. I'm just saying I trust that I don't need that information because I know they're working hard and they have this information. They have what they need and they're getting what they need, and they're doing things that we can't. The average person can't do, but they've stayed at this thing, and I trust them. And so, again, I applaud and, eternally grateful to all these people that have really put this huge, you can't even imagine the hours by, Curtis, Elf, Gandalf, all these. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out, but I'm just going right off the top of my head real quick here. Yeah. And all these people.
And 100 and so many people have been involved.
And
yeah.
And this DD part of it, where look at the explosion now. Look what's happened. I've said that I trust these people. I know that you look. If you can't figure out integrity on the face of it, I mean, I know you've been bamboozled here by a few people. I'm not talking about here. I'm talking about congressionally speaking. But I mean, within our own group here, I know people. There's people that I implicitly trust, and so I'm sticking by that.
Yeah, and I also want to shout out to those people in the community that have trusted, um, you know, some of us to be stewards of that information and to leverage that information. All of a lot of this stuff, including the information about the UPC committee, has come from members of the community that may be, outside what we call the DD team, right? But they come to us with this information and trust that it is leveraged and utilized to the full benefit of the community. And so thank you not only to those of you that are digging constantly, but to putting it in the hands of the people that can get it to the other hands that can leverage it for all of us. So thank you to you as well.
What a great word, stewards. That's the best word I've heard. That's a great word, and that sums it up. Okay, and so I even point out people like Costas and Jonna and Dr. E and Chad, all these guys. I mean, there's tons of people who add in. They're on top of this all the time. They have these. You bring together great minds, and even in the smallest ways, and it's another nugget. It's like in the day I had this nugget thing I found. somebody else finds a nugget, and it all leads up to this. So,
And sometimes you find something, Rick, that you don't even know is a
right,
nugget,
I'm telling you.
but you just have this innate sense that it's meaningful, and then you put it in the hands of somebody like Curtis or Gandalf or 100, and they immediately know what it means.
Yeah, and,
That's what I love about
yeah,
what
and then
they
you
do.
get these nitwits from the OTC and this and that. You get their egos talking, and they say stupid stuff, right? Well, that's a nugget, right? Oh, I deleted all
Yeah.
my tweets. Oh, I wonder why. So there's so you can't the people in the community are innumerable who it's just little bits and pieces, and yes, it's been a trial, right?
Yeah.
Obviously more so than for some than others, but it's been a trial, and people have stuck to this thing, and I like that word. That's the perfect word. I trust the stewards
Yeah.
in this community, right? Okay. So
Yep.
thank you so much to everyone. Thank you. Sea plants.
Yeah, and let
Plant
me
for a long time.
opine on that.
See, Costas, I appreciate you, guy. Sense of humor and a good mind. So, and Dr. E, all these guys, just animals. Swing everybody. In the background, there's always groups of people, different states and things like that, and you guys have there's little. I don't like it's not a clique, but there's little sub organizations, right, that work together. CC in Texas and etc. And
You got to work with people that you work
yeah,
well with, right? And so, and there is certainly space and room to do that. Really quick though, Rick, I got to interrupt,
The
guys.
time is
Jarrell announced that she's hosting
11:00
a space. Should be
a.m.
here in 1 minute now, guys. I was going to try to be wrapped up so that we can allow everyone to head over there. It's going to be a space dedicated to everyone who wants to send love and appreciation to Marduk. Marduk, of course, who from the very beginning, was hosting spaces, was helping in our infancy to get this community organized and provide a space where we started, unraveling the MMTLP fiasco. And of course, Rick, the more time they give, we're going to keep digging. And that digging is accelerating. But let me say this. So she's planning on opening that space so that people can express thoughts and prayers to him. He is in the hospital. He is dealing with some very serious medical issues. And so I desperately was trying to get this done so that we all could go over there. But unfortunately, I feel like we still have some conversation to have here. So I'm going to try and wrap it up as soon as we can, and then you guys can head over there. But I want to make sure everyone's clear about the information that we found and clear about the direction and where we go from here. But I believe that she is launching that space. Okay. And let me opine on Stewart. Rick, I talk about how I believe right people at the right time with the right skills and the talents, have come together to fight what I believe is one of the most epic battles in history in terms of good versus evil. I take those things very seriously. I think that our skills, our talents, our ability to learn and to create come from a creator who has endowed us as stewards of those things. And it is our responsibility to leverage those and to use those things for good. And I really do appreciate that so many of you have been good stewards of those skills, those talents, um, the time that you have, the resources that you have, and to use those in such a positive way. And I do believe that you will be rewarded for that, not only for this life, but in the next. So thank you for that, Rick. It's a word I use all the time. Steward. Gold, good morning. Welcome to the
I want to
mic.
keep it very pithy. I got to roll out here in like a minute. Just to keep perspective, I listened to what you said and what you read regarding protecting investors. I have written rules like that, and I have had to interpret government rules like that. I'd like to point out specifically protect investors. They're not saying which investors.
I've made that observation as well.
So you're talking the SEC is in charge of protecting investors. They're not saying retail investors, small investors, big investors. They don't. It's mutually exclusive. So just keep that in mind when you're reading these quasi, or better yet, quasi-government documents, FINRA, and the semi-government/government documents, SEC.
True. But I would love to see them on the record arguing that they're fulfilling their mission by protecting the very people that are counterfeiting and destroying our capital
Most
markets.
definitely.
So, but let me read the mission statement of the SEC: to protect investors, maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and facilitate capital formation. So whether they are protecting the criminal enterprise destroying our markets, they're failing in their mission to maintain fair markets.
100.
So SEC has similar, or FINRA has similar language as well. But yeah, Gold, I'd love to get them on the record saying, "Oh, we were protecting the counterfeiters." Yeah, but they're investors too.
Like I said, I just wanted to point out, and it's a quirk in the system. I've had to deal with it, for a good 14, 16 years of my career. That mutually inclusive, mutually exclusive. I didn't really say that, but you didn't say it either. You know what I'm saying? So just wanted to point that out. Keep it pithy. Y'all have a good morning. I'm gonna go back and listen to that YouTube video in this space again. You're gonna make this available for consumption off. So you know it's recorded.
Oh yeah, it's recorded.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, no, I typically try to record all my
Thank you very much,
spaces.
and you have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too. And there's a link out there for the space last night that was not recorded, but somebody recorded it and put it on YouTube. So, guys, just as a reminder as well, FINRA's mission is to protect investors and promote market integrity. Yeah. I'd really like to see them put it on the record that they were protecting the investor counterfeiters. But keep it pithy. Of course, Bill O'Reilly, that's his favorite thing. But yeah, I like to keep it pithy too. So, okay, let's go to NS. NS 928289195. I sound like I just read your inmate number. Anyway, good morning, NS. Welcome to the
Morning,
mic.
Chunks. Thanks for giving me the mic. Hey, did I hear you earlier say that you have it on good authority that Charles Schwab is significantly oversold?
Correct.
All right, so that's interesting because all my shares are at Charles Schwab right now, and I remember conversations that I had with them maybe a couple years ago asking those same questions, and I wish I recorded it, but they told me that obviously it's the opposite. So I just thought it was interesting.
Well, when you say let me keep it factual. Right. When you say good authority, I have data that we have collected, that we have run verified numbers on a very extraordinarily conservative actuary model. Now, if you guys don't know what actuary models do, what they basically do is many things. And Gandalf, I know I'm going to explain this wrong, but take it for what it's worth, guys. But what they try to do is give the most accurate prediction of what the numbers indicate in terms of an extrapolation. So we have verified and not unverified. We have verified account data that we ran through an actuary model where it looks at the median and then it looks at the amplitude of the data away from that median, defines a very select group that are valuable to an actuary model, eliminates the rest. And it's a very conservative. And gee, I hope you don't mind if I share this, but this tells you how conservative it is. When we ran the TradeStation model with verified accounts and shares, it said that we would not prove TradeStation over. And we did, way over. And that's just with about 30% of the potential investors in TradeStation. We showed them over 110% over in reality. But this model actually said we would not. So that tells you how insanely conservative it is. And via that model, with verified account information, we show Schwab and a few others extremely over.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I guess my follow-up question would be,
Yeah.
is there an action plan to move forward with that evidence? And if so, I would love to be a part of that effort offline if you want to have a conversation about that.
Well, let me say this. It's very difficult. You know, we presented the trade station information not only publicly, but we presented that information. I wrote a report for Congress because that was facts-based, evidence-based. It wasn't a predictive model. It was reality, right? And then since then, other information, not by me, but by other sources have been provided, sources that I don't have access to. But when it comes to our predictive information, we are not sharing that with Congress because it is not reliable. Let me just say it that way, because our sample size is so small that in any realistic perspective from number crunchers, they'd be like, they would dismiss it. So, but I am very confident with how conservative those models are. Also, the other thing we have to remember, NS, is these do not include whale investors. It does not include institutions that would skew the data even further out of bounds. This is just from our community, but it is verified. So with Schwab, I will say, I hope it's okay that I do this. If not, I'll hear about it. With just 4.5%. Remember, this is verified info. With just 4.5% of the potential, and actually more than potential investors, meaning we have some firm data on that as well. 4.5% of the investors at Schwab, they're holding 23% of the allotment.
Can I ask you a question?
That is almost a 6x overage. And again, guys, it does not include whale investors, and it does not include institutions, which will skew that much higher. So go ahead.
With regards to that, now that everybody's been moved over from TD Ameritrade, last batch, can they update? Should they not, without people reporting, shouldn't they be taking the TDA and moving that all over to Schwab numbers now?
Yes, but these numbers predate those movements. Right. So these are shares that were verified to be purchased at Schwab.
Okay, but now
these were not transition. When we get into the transition, Rick, it gets way too muddy.
Okay.
And I also have numbers that we've also run for TD. We did it on all of the major ones that we suspected were significantly over. But again, because the sample size were pretty small and insignificant, but I think that that information is still very compelling because again, it's not reported shares, it's verified shares. Right. So take that for what it's worth. That is what my opinion is based on. So I don't want for it to be misconstrued any other way. But yes, I believe from that data, verified shares, that Schwab is in a significantly oversold position. And it just happens to be that one of the people on the list that sat on that UPC committee happens to be a third-party counterbroker for Schwab.
I would just be curious if a certain securities attorney would be able to do anything with that information.
Sure. I don't know which one you're speaking
Well,
of, but let me say this. One thing we also,
pretty heavily on Anna's case, so.
Yeah, Mark has a trade station case and he has, the data and information that he needs for that based, and I'm sure the subpoenas, the first round of subpoenas are collecting that information officially. So, but let me say this as well. Securities attorneys don't go out and file cases on their own. They have to have clients. And so not that they can't do certain investigations, but they do work on behalf of clients. And so if there is a Schwab person that would like to explore this more, but again, guys, I told you straight up, our sample size is incredibly small. And I think it's probative, but it is incredibly small. So, but yeah, security attorneys work on behalf of clients. They just don't, in general, pull cases out of nowhere. Now, I have heard of instances where securities or not securities attorneys are alerted to something and sometimes go client seeking, but they usually do work on behalf of clients. So it would take somebody at Schwab who was willing to have those conversations. But yeah, that's where we're at, Ines.
I appreciate the mic. I sent you a DM last night, so if you don't mind taking the time to.
I will. I'm sorry, Ines. I got flooded with a ton of DMs and text messages
No,
last
it's okay.
night.
Take your
So
time in
I
answering
will,
it. I just want to let you know I DM'd you. That's all.
yeah, I will. I will.
All
Thank
right.
you for that. I appreciate it. Guys, yeah, I got a little overwhelmed last night. So how ya then rumbling and GW just grabbed a mic. GW, throw your hand up in your air for me. How you go ahead.
Yeah. Do they have a name for that contact at the DTCC who didn't show up for the meeting, or who were supposed to be at the meeting?
No, you mean who called the
Yeah.
meeting, DTC? That would be in the hands of the parties at which were invited to that meeting. I haven't seen or have access to it. And the only reason I know about that meeting is because John Berta spoke about it publicly on a space.
Oh, so we have to get the name from him, or he might not have it, or he's not going to share it.
I don't know. And I seriously doubt he'll share it, but he had the opportunity then. But I'm guessing because there would have been email correspondences or phone calls to schedule that meeting. And as we said, it was it was Meta, NextBridge, FINRA, and the DTC. So all of those parties would have had some level of coordination and would know who was calling
There
that
have been
meeting.
CCs and BCCs, and so there will be names.
Yeah, there'll be names. Like I always say, how ya? FOIA or Discovery is going to be a bitch.
Well, I figured because we're such a close knit community that the information would be somewhat available.
Yeah, as far as I know, that information has never been revealed publicly, how ya? But maybe it's possible that through a legal process or through Congress that information is subpoenaed. But yeah, as far as I know, even in the DD group, I haven't heard that being discussed. So I don't think any of us know.
And Congress is closed today, the government offices.
Technically, yes, but there's people always there working. You can also leave messages and send emails. So, but yeah, today is Juneteenth, 19th. Okay, let's go to Rumblin, GW, and then JT. Go ahead, Rumblin.
Hey, Chuck. So I have a Schwab account, and I have a
Okay.
not insignificant number of shares. I would not call myself a whale, but it's enough that they contacted me on multiple occasions to lend the shares out. And finally, I said, why not? I can make some money off it. They're going to short it down, and then I can use that money to buy more shares, which I did. However, after about a month and a half, I was leading the fine print of their securities lending fully paid program, which stated that if anything happened where trading was halted, I would not be entitled to those shares. I would only be entitled to cash equivalent to the last traded price. And I was like, well, that's a problem. I don't want to do that. I don't want to lose my shares because I know the value to them because I got family in the oil business. So I called up Schwab and said, hey, I want to get my shares out of my SL securities lending fully, the SLFP account back in my normal brokerage account. And the guy said on the phone, oh, that's not a problem. And I said, well, how long is that going to take? And the reason I asked this is the reason I think this is important. Our favorite short, Phil the Short, nice guy. He also had an account at Schwab where he shorted MMTLP. And he made the comment that it was hard to borrow. And whenever shares were available, he would short it. And so this is the way my brain works. So my shares were lent out. If I call Schwab and say, hey, I want my shares back, they're going to have to go out and get them. And, If I actually owned a share and it was lent out and I want it back, they have to go get it back. Well, how do you get a share back from someone who short sold it? They got to buy it. Okay. And so I asked the guy, I said, how long is this going to take? And he said, we'll journal them over right now. And I said, what do you mean you'll journal them over? He said, oh, we'll just go ahead and move them back into your account. And I'm thinking, okay, either you're lying about lending the shares out, which Phil would confirm that is not a correct statement because he would short sell, he would borrow the shares anytime they were available, or you're lying about moving them back into my account. And if the data is suggesting that Schwab is as offsides as they are, which I believe because they have been making it extremely difficult to move shares to AST, yeah, it all kind of adds up. I didn't make the connection until just now when you were mentioning the data, and I was like, wow, so they were lying back then, pre-halt too. Interesting. So yeah, just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, no, they were pretty desperate from my understanding that people have reported. They were pretty desperate to get those, we know it's happening on GMC, it happens on the AMC, it happens on so many, investors start getting phone calls saying, hey, would you like to lend out your shares? Will Stewart indicated that they were calling him 6 months before the halt, asking him on multiple occasions to lend out his 17.8 million shares. So, yeah, when they start making those phone calls, they get pretty
Yeah, they
desperate.
contacted
So,
me in
hey
what I
guys,
think it was September. So that would have been what, 3 months, early
yeah,
September, so 3 months before the halt. So yeah,
Yeah, it was in
interesting.
August,
yeah.
September. I got calls as well.
Yeah,
TD
interesting.
Ameritrade.
Yeah, and let me clarify, guys. When I'm talking about the share count and whales not being included, that's anyone over 100,000 shares. So you don't have to share if you're a whale or not, but that's what I'm talking about. Is unless they are verified, but definitely we only have just a small handful of those. But typically, it is we exclude any shares over 100,000. But when we are verifying shares, we make sure that they are 100% verified. So, guys, I just checked. Jarrell does have that space open. It's called Take a Mic, Share Love and Hellos to Marduk. And so if you guys would like to venture on over there and participate that, please do. I had planned to shut the space down, but that's before Curtis went all Curtis last night. So of course that we do want to continue this conversation and take the action that we need to take. But if you want to share messages of healing and peace and love for support for Marduk, please head on over to that space. They are recording it so that he can listen to it. But head on over to that space and share your thoughts. And then you can always run back here, guys, and share with us as well. I don't know if they're discussing the issues from last night. I can't listen and do my space. But I believe it was going to be specifically dedicated to Marduk. So if you guys want to head over to that, please do. And then you can rejoin us. So.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to GW and then JT. Go ahead, GW.
Good morning, Savvy. It's interesting times we're living in right now, and I'm very excited. I was up, like everybody else, till the wee hours of the morning listening to Curtis share his important information with us. But I'm calling this morning because I'm particularly interested in what you just said about Charles Schwab being over on their shares of NextBridge. I was with TD Ameritrade, and I transferred a third of my block of my shares, a year ago, and I got transferred over to Charles Schwab. And 6 months ago, I transferred a second third of my shares. No problem on that. $80. I had to get the certificate, that kind of thing, and mail it in. But 2 weeks ago, I decided to transfer all but 5% of my shares over to AST, and thought everything was going to go smoothly. No response after a week, so I contact them, and they say, "Yeah, you don't have the right DTC number on your form." And I said, "Well, Charles Schwab, or I mean AST's numbers publicized. And I already submitted one. 6 months ago, I already did this 7805 is their DTC number. What's the problem? Well, okay, well, we don't know, but we'll send that back for review and see if we can process your request to send this block of shares over to AST. So now it's been another week. Now that what you're saying, I'm pretty confident they're going to not transfer the shares. They're going to figure out some other excuse or just come back and say, we can't do it at this time, because they're throwing up really inane roadblocks to processing the request. So,
well, let me provide some clarity, because I don't want people to be confused. So these are accounts that were generated, shares that were purchased at Charles Schwab, not transfer shares, from my understanding. And so we have not dealt with the transition from TD, because number one, that transition is not complete. Okay, there are still people that are still holding TD accounts. Number two, Schwab, as well as Fidelity and TD, are some of the biggest custodians of retirement accounts. And so those retirement accounts, the Roth accounts, en masse in general, rare have any of them transferred over to AST, and none of the 401ks have. So those would not be included as well. But as of right now, when I say that Schwab is over, I think it's relevant data that I have that they're over, it is based on accounts and the extrapolated numbers have got those verified accounts on a very, very conservative approach. Schwab has not admitted to, or as far as I knew, other than your experience, denied anyone transfer because of potential lack of certificate issues. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that based on the data that was for this community, verified shares being held in the, that if you extrapolate that on very conservative models, that Schwab will be significantly over their certificate allotment. But as of right now, unless other people have reports that I'm unaware of, they are not in the position that TradeStation is, where they are denying transfers. Now, honestly, GW, I don't know if the big boys, TD, Fidelity, and Schwab, are ever going to be in that position, because I think the vast majority, up to 65% of their total shares are being held in those retirement accounts that are not transferring.
gotcha.
So I don't know though, but if they're 10 to 15%, 10 to 15x oversold at some point, they're going to fill the boat at AST. But I also don't know where those boat situations are right now either. So I, like many of you, are waiting to see any potential report from NextBridge regarding that.
Can I ask, GW, you say you're Schwab, you say you're attempting now to transfer shares, which up to this, to you speaking now, has been a very swift process. I mean, I have friends that have done it, and it was as swift as mine. It was within a couple days. I mean, it was just done, and the account was opened. And so you're saying you're having some delay or pushback from Schwab right now?
That's correct, and it's pushback on a number that is readily available to the public, which is AST's DTC number. That's what they're saying. I'm putting in the wrong number, which I already
Their identifier
number for DTC.
You don't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. You should be able to just call them up and say, "Move my shares," right? Pay your 80. And
I wish.
I don't know why you should have to give them anything. You shouldn't be giving them anything except.
Well, let me ask you a question, GW. When you go to, like, I'm on Thinkorswim. I am now transitioned over to Schwab. But when I go to Thinkorswim, whether it was TD or Schwab, and I click on my position, I have a number in there. They're not accepting that number that they use in their own accounts to designate the formerly MMTLP, now NextBridge hydrocarbon
No,
shares.
it's not that number. It's not the NextBridge number. It's the DTC number. On the form, they don't ask for very much information on the form, but one of the things they ask for is AST's DTC number, which is 7805. You can Google that; it comes right up. And when you Google it, it says you may be required by your your stockbroker to provide the DTC number. It is 7805.
Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah, that's the designator for AST, correct? Okay. No, I know what number you're talking about. I've seen it. I've seen that number before. I have it written down in my files.
So yeah, so I don't know. I'm only 2 weeks in.
Why is the onus on you? What? No,
Right.
this is no. That's ridiculous.
I know.
This is a ploy.
Yeah, I would. Which department are you speaking to at Schwab? Are you trade desk, outbound transfer?
Outbound transfer.
I don't know. Maybe try a different desk. I don't know. But again, it's just perpetuating the same behavior that they have for 18 months. Make it as difficult as possible. Not every broker has done that. TD, it was a breeze for me. But other brokers have just made it increasingly difficult. And it really does, in light of the information that we have, not only, with TradeStation, but in addition, as we get further and further down the road and potentially have more overages. Hang on just a second. I'm just reading a text message.
John,
that they may come up with more and more and more excuses to prolong the process.
Jonna, you can lay in now. Yeah, I know you're chomping at the bit on this one.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm looking at too many other things. Jonna, go ahead.
Her speakers. She's a speaker, and her mic is on. I mean, it shows it's on, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't have her as a speaker, but let me invite her to speak.
Yeah, I'm sure she might have some advice for GW, because GW, you're just gonna have to be straight, flat out with them, and don't beat around. You just say, "I want my shares moved." Do it. Numbers, you figure.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what Jonna did. Is she's like, I don't care how you do it. Pony Express if you have to. Move my share.
I don't need to supply you with numbers. That's your business. That I'm instructing you to do this, and I want you to do it now. That's it.
Well, I agree. It's laughable, number two, because when she said, "Well, you don't have the right DTC number," I said, "Well, why don't you just fucking look it up?"
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell?
Well, that's the first I've heard of this one. I'm just saying, that's it. And then I've given you instructions. I'm expecting you to follow through. I'm going to check back, and I expect to be done today or within the next two or 3 days. Because they've done that in literally in 2 to 3 days. It's done. Without, you're like, oh, it's done. I didn't expect that. So I wouldn't let them pull that stuff.
Yeah. Well, anyway, my situation is anecdotal, I know, but in light of what Savvy you were saying this morning about Charles Schwab, it does put me on alert that I may get jacked around on this last block of shares that I want to transfer over to AST. So I'll keep you posted on what happens in the next week or two and see if I can get it done.
Okie dokie, boss.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no, I think the further down the road we get, and guys, when and if the time comes that NextBridge announces that we are potentially going to be trading on the blockchain, if imbalances have not been cleared prior, and you get a flood of people wanting, because NextBridge already indicated that if that is an opportunity that they present, that you are going to have your shares transferred to AST, and you see a flood, we're going to start to see these boats, these individual little dinghies on this much bigger ship fill up very quickly. And then what's going to happen to the people left outside?
Right on. Yeah.
We don't know. But hopefully, GW, let me say this, my greatest wish is that with all the information that we've given Congress, especially in light of the most recent information that we passed on to Congress, that we are able to leverage that sufficiently to get a share count and get that hand to the grave and cave, so that we don't have to deal with all of these potential outcomes, that we can just get a resolution, whatever that resolution is, and that we are all, I don't even like the term made whole, GW, because we're never going to be made whole. We're never going to get back what we've lost in this situation. But at least if we can get compensation for what was taken from us, that we can at least move on and move forward. So that's my greatest hope.
Well, thank you for the mic, Savvy, and thank you for everything you do for the community. So I'll drop down and let someone else have the mic.
Yep, I'm going to go to JT. Jonna, you might have something to say, but JT's arm about to fall off. So JT, good morning. Welcome back to
Hey,
the
good
mic.
morning, everyone. So I know we're all having quite a bit of fun, with FINRA, but, I heard the DTCC was brought up this morning. So I figured why not invite them to the party here? About 3 weeks ago, I sat down with Rep. Norman directly here in our district office. And, we really spoke pretty freely about everything that's been going on. With more evidence presented of more wrongdoing. And, he flat out, said, what other options are there outside of, the SEC and FINRA that we're already asking? Mind you, this is before the letter was coming out. We knew it was coming out. I wasn't really on board with it. I didn't think it had enough teeth. It was, everyone's read it. They can make their own decisions. So, he asked, what can we do that hasn't been done? And, because of some of the great minds in this community, I brought that question back to them. And the plan was, who else has the share count is the DTCC. So, a group of folks here were so kind to lay out a step-by-step process, really centered around, if you remember, question number 9 in Norman's open letter. Literally 5 questions or 5 steps to a resolution that we've presented to Norman's office, who have presented that to the DTCC, asking them now to get involved. As of last week, it has been confirmed that the DTCC has received communication from Rep. Norman's office, and there will be plans here in the coming weeks where they're going to be sitting down and speaking directly. So I would suggest, if you are talking to reps right now about this FINRA situation and they want to know more about this resolution plan, maybe have those offices call over to Norman's office and ask to be a part of that, because there is a lot of information that the DTCC has right now. And I want to put them on notice that you're not absolved from what is going on right now, especially with what is going on outside of the U.S. markets. So I would be very, very careful of what you guys are doing. And again, someone come clean, because we know it's been presented to Congress. Multiple congressional offices have this. So tread very lightly. I think that's what Curtis was saying yesterday in regards to FINRA. Tread very lightly. And I would highly suggest you speak to your offices and ask them to get involved with Norman's office and the questions regarding the DTCC.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, GT. So kind of a little bit of a breaking news there as well that some of us have known, but that the DTC has been engaged by Ralph Norman's office to sit down and answer questions regarding the Mmtlp fiasco. Yeah, if there's only one depository of all things share counts and certificates, it is, of course, the DTC and their subsidiary the DTCC and their subsidiary, the DTC, which of course is Seton Co. So, yeah, wouldn't it be fantastic if they came to the table? But as you were talking, JT, I was reminded of the conversation that Matt Gaetz had when he called for an investigation into all of the 3-letter organizations. And maybe this is why we're potentially seeing this pivot from FINRA, and potentially what may or may not go down with the DTC is, once they are called before Congress, they do not want to be put in the position to lie.
I want to say something.
And so they start to turn on each other.
100%.
And are we getting to that phase? Go ahead.
I would say this: if you remember back to FINRA's response to the open letter, FINRA, in their excuse of why they can't, give a audited share count, is they don't have purview of shares once they leave, U.S. markets or folks under their purview. I would say that I would find it very concerning how the DTCC would answer that same question if shares offshored, and where they were cleared, if they were U.S. Clearing agents, if DTCC would have that information. So I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
get some
and
answers there.
yeah, and we, gosh, wouldn't you want to be a fly on the wall in that conversation, JT? Maybe you can make that happen. But I've said before, through their funds and their counter broker networks, that these foreign firms access U.S. securities through FINRA member firms. So for them to say that they have no way of tracking, that is wholly untrue. And they know it. They're just counting on, quite frankly, the lack of understanding from these Congress people. They've been playing this game the whole time about, misrepresenting information, creating confusion, deflection, distraction. But not only have they allowed us to become more educated, they've allowed Congress to be more educated. And I don't think, and maybe you have a better perspective on that, JT, that their games are going to fly any longer.
Well, I think, as we bring more, more light to the situation, and this community continues to, speak with reps and, demand answers. I mean, Congress works for us, and, the dots are starting to get connected here more and more. That's going to lead us to, the end. And, I woke up this morning after that space last night. I was like, man, I wish the offices were open today. But
wait, you woke up? That implies that you slept.
I did get a few hours of sleep, but I woke up and I was like, oh man, I wish the offices were awake, but I'm actually kind of glad they're not, because I can only imagine what is happening today. As someone had mentioned, these offices are closed, but people are working overtime. There is plans being placed right now on how they're going to address this tomorrow morning when the phone lines get turned on, because I can only imagine phones are going to start melting in DC regarding Mmtlp. Email boxes are going to start, you've got mail, and it's going to be nonstop. And I think this community, and again, let folks know that there's more information, and I think we're giving Congress a chance, through the end of the week, but there's more information to come if we don't start seeing some action. And it's gonna shine a light on a lot of folks who have portrayed that they're, someone used the term today, an ally, but they're not, or they haven't shown to be one yet, truly an ally of this community. There's a lot of folks in Congress who want to help, but when it boils down, there's only a select few that can issue subpoenas and call for a hearing. And those are the folks that need to, to really listen to the rest of the congressional members and get it done. Because if not, I'm telling you, there is going to be a flood of information that's going to come out, and people are they'll make their own decisions. Who had what and who's seen what. And, people can make their own choices of what side of, the fence they were on.
Yeah. And you're seeing it loud and proud on the space. By the way, the news is already breaking about Norman's office and a potential meeting in the coming weeks on the DTCC. But Curtis didn't blow his whole wad last night. So there is more information that, if need be, will come to light. And so, there is more. There's more. Okay, guys, just a reminder, want to make sure, do not want to be disrespectful to Marduk, but Jarrell has a space open right now dedicated to sending well wishes and happy thoughts and appreciation to Marduk, who unfortunately is suffering a health crisis and is in the hospital. If you guys would like to pop over to that space, it is recorded so that he can listen to it. I don't believe they're discussing our issues. I think that they're discussing specifically thoughts and prayers for Marduk. So if you guys would like to, I had originally planned to go ahead and drop this space when they opened up. I believe in her post, she said it was going to be about an hour. It gives you about 18 minutes left. So I would encourage and invite you guys to go over and share your thoughts and feelings with Marduk. I'll still be here as long as the conversation is going. Unfortunately, I did not realize yesterday that Curtis would be dumping all this news on us. So of course we need to digest it, talk about it, leverage it, make those phone calls, even if they're not in the office today, like JT just said. Can you imagine what their answering services are going to look like? So, but please guys, make those phone calls, send those emails, let them know what we now know. And it's a time for choosing, JT. We use lots of phrases, time for choosing, rubber hits the road, whose side are you on? It really is a time for these people to prove. Are their actions going to speak as loudly as their signatures in support of this community did? And you guys, you can't forget about the cat either. You know, these elected representatives need to prove who it is that they serve. So, yep, now's the time. Let's go to Jonna and then Nola. Go ahead, Jonna.
No, I was on my laptop and I heard you guys calling my name, or number 2 pencil calling my name. But I'm like, my mic's not open. I'm on my laptop.
No, it was in reference to GW was sharing the difficulties he had with his broker now, you know, demanding numbers and information in order to transfer his shares. And number 2 was, you know, trying to share your approach of, I don't care how you do it.
Oh, okay.
So
Right.
just, you want to give that speech?
Oh, no.
Yeah, go, Jonna, go.
Jonna needs sleep and Jonna needs caffeine. Yeah, I don't care, you know, what your process is. I want my shares in book entry at AST in my name per the company's request and per their documentation asking for that. So
and the word
my
now.
property
Yeah.
now. But I did post a post for the mail fraud for KCAP and sent that to you, Savvy, and I think I posted it in the nest. Maybe. Did I drop?
Nope, I was muted. Sorry, I was just trying to clear my throat, guys. So just a reminder, KCAP has encouraged not only for us to make complaints, file complaints with our attorney generals, but also if you are a Fidelity investor who received documentation either via paper mail or through their system, whether you are in a 401k, an IRA, a cash or a margin account, that indicated any sort of distribution regarding NextBridge hydrocarbons, that you go ahead and file a complaint with the IRS Criminal Investigations Unit. So that link is up in the nest. Again, guys, if you're in a 401k or an IRA, there may not be a monetary distribution, but it will or a tax liability, but it will absolutely indicate that you were distributed shares of NextBridge hydrocarbons at a value, I believe, of $2.90 a share. If you take the value of that distribution divided by the $2.90 a share, that should be the number of shares that they declared to the IRS that they distributed to you. Now, here is the significance. If, as we suspect, and we have information to believe, that Fidelity is significantly oversold, even if it's not significant, which I believe it is, and I've explained why I believe that, that they have declared to the IRS that they distributed shared dividends that they did not have, because they only have, I believe it's 21,010,000 and something certificates. But if they indeed are oversold, as we suspect that they are, then they have potentially committed tax filing fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, collusion, racketeering, possibly tax evasion as well, and a whole litany of other things. Federal law enforcement is aware of this. I have also written a brief about this, forwarded it to multiple entities. Congress is also aware of this, and I have to tell you, Commissioner Peirce is also aware of this because we forwarded this data to her a long time ago. So they are coming to the point. Rubber is meeting the road for you, Miss Abigail Johnson. Yeah, guys, it's not just about speculation at this point. There is documentation that is available to sources with subpoena power that can confirm what Fidelity has done. And so we need to make those complaints. Apparently, the Postal Service takes this stuff incredibly seriously. I know the IRS takes it very seriously, and I hope they get a knock on the door here sometime soon. You guys know I've railed on them for a long time. Oh, by the way, it's not just National Financial Services. It's also their auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Good morning, folks. All sarcasm intended, guys. Okay, Nola, go ahead. Hit us with it.
Hey, Savvy. Hope you've been well.
I'm good. How are you, Nola?
Upright. So past that, who knows? But obviously, this information that Curtis has released is quite significant. I guess my question sort of is, we've already released a lot of significant information to all these entities, agencies, Congress, all this. They've had a lot of this for a while. And so my ultimate question is, who at this point, because it hasn't been done based on all the previous significant information they've received, who at this point is going to be the one to hold those accountable and get this to a resolution? And I ask that because it seems like, maybe some of these members of Congress, these agencies, these entities are just simply in this kind of too big to fail bubble, and they're just not that scared about it.
Well, like I said, as well as with this and any other information, and I wish we had, Curtis or JT or Notoriety back on the mic. Let's see, are any of you still here? We have to see what kind of legs this information has, right? Curtis has said many times, at what point is the cost of inaction outweighed, or is the price of inacting so much worse than the price of taking action? And does this information get us to that point? I don't know. But when you talk about what they're afraid of, they don't seem to be afraid. Well, here's what, for me, I believe that Congress is afraid of. Number one, a lot of them lack the courage to go out and to make waves like this. We all know that they have big donors with a lot of influence. But I think it's even bigger than that. This problem is so big. This problem is a global problem. If you think they were concerned, which we got word that they were all eyes focused on the GME situation, at least MMTLP is frozen and not currently inflicting at least immediate damage. But what MMTLP exposes is that our entire market system is a fraud, and it is leveraged against the everyday American. And that impacts not just consumer confidence, that impacts trust in government, that impacts our economy, that impacts not only that, our standing in the world and our national security. They know it. We know it. We've been screaming it. That's why hashtag stop the bleed. You don't want this to be exposed. Curtis has said many times, I don't want to do this. But their inaction has put us in this place to expose them. It is not too late. Curtis talked about that last night. It is not too late. They can act. Get the people to the table. End it. End it. Audit the DTC. Oh, I said a naughty word. Me and Mmtlp are in big, big trouble. Audit the DTC, the DTCC. Actually, it is the DTC. Force these criminal enterprise to close out their position, to take their lumps, take their licenses, end it. But it's courage and conviction that they're lacking, unfortunately. And they're proving that. So what are we doing it? We're exposing it, and we're exposing it to anyone possible that will take that action. And I know that there is a storm brewing. I know it is. But what is going to be that break? Honestly, I don't know. Could this be it? I know Curtis thinks it is. You know, he, of course, is privy to more information than I am. I trust him. You know, he indicated this morning that there is movement, but what is that movement going to be? That's the ultimate question. Wish I had the answer, Nola. I don't.
Yes, I agree with essentially everything you just said. And I've been a part of the congressional outreach a lot. I have not been a part of the media side of it, and I suppose that's on me. Do you feel, you know, this information that's coming out, those getting exposed, do you feel we have enough contacts, I suppose, in media to make a big enough wave to force their hand?
Well, enough of contact. I know that, of course, you know, Marduk as well, guys. If you want to go over, share some messages, you have a few minutes left. Please do that. She indicated that she's going to hold the space for an hour. If she decides to extend, that's great. But I want to make sure that if you guys want to share messages of appreciation to Marduk, that you do that. So head on over there. We'll still be here, I'm assuming. But here's the thing, Nola. Charles Payne has been here from the beginning. He's very well aware. Busy keeps him informed, as well as other people in the community keep him informed. Kristen Shaughnessy has been a great advocate for this community, as well as Dennis Neal. They know. Pulte knows. We have contact with RFK and his team. They know. And there is a potential podcast coming up. I believe it's going to feature Curtis, Ian Carroll, and maybe a few others to discuss about these greater market issues, as well as Mmtlp. We have, and obviously the pay to play media knows, who've been shockingly quiet. I've expected to hear and see more from them, but where's Gas Bag? Anyway, but I know that there are people that are doing outreach. I kind of chastise some of the media that we've tried outreach with, who have blown us off. This could be one of the biggest Pulitzer Prize winning, I mean, this is the crime of the century. Not just Mmtlp, but the greater issues in the stock market. Our market participants are not just defrauding us, they're defrauding the world. And it's really hard to face the fact that sometimes your country and your people and your leadership are not on the right side of history. But that's where we are with this market. And they don't want it exposed. But, you know, if you know anyone, you know, we've also had, by the way, I totally forgot, James O'Keefe. You know, so I know that I personally have reached out to 5 different people yesterday, sent them the recording of the space, and we'll continue to keep them posted. Kristen Shaughnessy is already posting about it. Dennis Neal is potentially working on another podcast. And so, oh, also we cannot, sorry guys, didn't mention it today. It is up in the nest. Of course, we know that Chris Rose, state Senate candidate, was on Tim Pool. And so Tim Pool has an incredibly large audience. He is also a gateway to people like Tucker Carlson, Patrick Bet-David, Joe Rogan. You know, we've had contact with Jon Stewart, though he's preoccupied with the Daily Show now going into the election. I mean, we've certainly planted those seeds, Nola. But in light of this information, there certainly is more work to be done there.
Got it. Thanks, Savvy.
I mean, this is a career. This is a career making story. Just as Madoff was for Aaron Arvidland, any of you hungry reporters out there, get in touch with us. Of course, Frank Nez has been with us the whole time. But this is history in the making right here, right now. A little tiny ticker, a little tiny oil and gas company. You remember, guys, I did that Forbes mock cover, the peanut butter that brought down the market cartel. Home plate peanut butter. Yeah. And not only that, Nola, for a litigator, an attorney general, an assistant attorney general, a state's attorney, this is a career making opportunity. So we still have work to do, I think is your point. We do. We still have work to do. Let's go to Roaring Tractor Sam. Good morning, Sam. Welcome to the
Hey,
mic.
Junk. I had posted a reply to Pete Sessions in talking. He had mentioned Juneteenth and that we celebrate freedom for all Americans. And I posted, how can we celebrate freedom when at least 65,000 shareholders of MMTLP are held hostage due to regulator, broker, and market maker fraud? And then I put down time to subpoena the blue sheets. And I think that, my personal opinion is that we need to put some pressure on Congress and call them out in a professional way. And, I think if we can repost something like that, or come up with something, a little catchier than what I put down, I think we could benefit from that as well.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, Sam. Dirty D, good morning. Welcome. Oh, where'd he go? I just gave Dirty D a mic. Where'd he go? Okay, guys. He was coming up to talk about the Marduk space that's open, guys. Of course, you know that I've told you about it 4 or 5 times this morning already. But if you have not shared your thoughts and appreciation for Marduk, he, of course, is having a health
The
struggle.
time is
He is in the
12:00
hospital.
p.m.
Will be there for my understanding is the coming weeks, depending on changes in his condition. You can ask for more details over in that space, but I think the space is primarily focused and dedicated to sending him well wishes, thoughts, prayers, and appreciation. It is recorded so that he can listen to it. But yeah, guys, I apologize. I fully intended on shutting the space down, but then of course we get all the news and information that was dumped last night. So I feel like it was important to have both opportunities. But please take a few minutes, head on over there, share your thoughts with Marduk, and we'll be back here if you need us. So go ahead, Sam.
No, that's it. I really also want to say thank you to everybody that's been working tirelessly in exposing this craziness that's that we've been in for several years now. And we haven't given up hope, and I think we gotta continue to fight. And I really appreciate everybody. And it sounds like I just killed the room.
No, I killed it with my mic. So I was just letting everybody know we are into Trader Lunch. It is 9:01 here on the West Coast, which means it's 12:01 there on the East Coast. I am not sure how long Jarrell is going to leave that space open. I believe from her post, she indicated it was going to be 30 to 60 minutes. So make sure that you guys head on over there. Don't miss the opportunity to share some thoughts and prayers with Marduk. So please head on over there and do that. Okay, guys. Any other comments or questions? Let me actually head down into the chat. Forgive me while I do that. I cannot see if people are raising their hands. So somebody call it out to me if possible. Brave Snail again. Yes, Cam Paxton is fully aware of our situation. Let's see. Yeah, you're right, D-Dub. For 18 months, FINRA has touted the same thing. And now all of a sudden, When that flame gets turned up and fired up under their arse, now they're all of a sudden changing their story. Isn't that the way the guilty usually do it? A last bit of spaghetti thrown against the wall to see what sticks. Yeah. Yep, Aldo, definitely the regulators are absolutely part of that criminal enterprise. They've proven it time and time again. Devin Nunez, DJT, might be interested in these developments. Honey Badger's saying, well, Honey Badger, Devin Nunez and his team may already know. So we'll just leave that there. Kim is, of course, posting where you can file those complaints with the USPS. If you are a Fidelity member, they take their investigations, as Kim would know, very seriously. So please consider filing your complaints with the IRS Criminal Investigative Unit, as well as a USPS. Traveling sessions, I agree with you. We need to get this information in front of a prosecutor with something to prove. Couldn't agree with you more. Let's see. BioStalker, thank you for posting. Appreciate that. Wikipedia page for FINRA, knowing what they do. Where is Ari? Of course, that is the question that Deborah's lovely sister had been asking up until the day of her death. So thanks for posting that, Deborah. Also, guys, there is many links. Thank you for that, John Rambo, to the conversation with Jack last night. So make sure that you guys, if you did not get the opportunity, I know we've recounted as much as we could, but it's never the same as when you hear it live and you hear Curtis's excitement and exuberance for sharing the information. He wasn't planning on doing it, but what do you do, right? So so you guys can check out those recordings. I have no idea about that, Jiminy. Let's see. Lazy saying, I wishing Metaguy Martic a full and speedy recovery. Agreed. Absolutely. Let's see. Guess what day it is? Hump day? Yes, it is. You guys know I love a good hump day. Mad Mikey proposing a new hashtag bigger than Watergate. It's looking like it, Mad Mikey, looking like it. Let's see. Kay Wonders, I hope I answered that question. So guys, when you are calling your reps, it is very clear the gross conflict of interest that has been unearthed, that the representatives of brokers that have been found to be offsides and potentially offsides were in the room making the decision regarding not only the corporate action, but eventually the U3 halt. And so, you know, and that puts in conflict Robert W. Cook's assertions to Ralph Norman in his letter in response to the open letter that that there were no market participants, brokers, or hedge funds that knew the halt was incoming. And that is absolutely disproven by the very members of the committee that made that decision. So that's what you can share, K Wonders. And of course, the ask is for a hearing and for subpoenas. Jalen asking, please clip notoriety when he told us of exact instances when FEMRA's employees lied directly to Congress. Yep, just went over that. It was in Robert W. Cook's letter to Ralph Norman in response to the historic open letter. It is a direct violation of, I don't remember the statute, I think it's 1001, but basically it is a federal crime to lie to Congress, so or government agencies in general. So thank you for that. Good morning, Cece. It is a brand new day. Taking on Schwab. Well, Deacon suggesting maybe it's a good time to take a short position on Schwab. Deacon, let me say this. I am not a financial advisor, and even if I was, I wouldn't be your financial advisor. So we don't give financial advice here other than to consult your licensed professional provider. But yeah, interesting strategy there, Deacon. Oh, sorry, Dave Jones. No sound. Hopefully you've got some now. Oh, did MetaMaterials posted something? Oh, that was Matt talking about the preferred C shares. So let's see. Good morning, Winston Balmaceda. Good morning. Jimmy Litt likes eggs is asking, has someone checked to see if these 10 peeps have some sort of immunity from any repercussions? Not sure what immunity that would be, other than, of course, FINRA's immunity. And if they did have some sort of agreement of sorts, I'm not sure how we would know that, Jimmy. But, you know, if you have some clue into that and have some information, we'd love to hear it. Okay. Yeah, Doug, that certainly is a concern. Congress have known, and yet we do not have hearings or subpoenas regarding the MMTLP fiasco. So, like I said, it's a time for choosing whose side are they going to be on, and let's see how we can leverage this information to get us what we need to get out of the MMTLP fiasco. Okay. Nice. Yes, Chef. Love that image. Thank you. Hey, Rick, Richard, I'd love to see some of those communications as well. But of course, we know that as part of a strategy, sometimes it's important to keep those communications confidential. Also, there have been times that we have presented information to Congress that they have requested that we keep that information confidential because they are working it through their system, they're tracking, they're monitoring it. And we respect that. We respect that confidentiality until it's time not to respect that anymore. So thanks for that, guys. Hopefully I got through that list. I don't have access to my DMs right now, so I apologize if you guys have questions in there. But I'm not seeing any hands up in the air. Does anyone want to share any thoughts before we go ahead and lock her down and make the recording of the space available to the world? Anyone else? Last call. Last call. And I'm not going to give you a market update because unlike this morning, I now know that the market is closed today, guys. Sorry, again, I did a little market minute and have no idea what numbers I was reading because the market is closed today in observance of June 19th. So anyone? Anyone? Okay. Guys, you know the ask. It hasn't changed. Just the information has changed. And boy, howdy, did we deliver some information that you can share with your representatives. We finally know who ordered the code red. So share it, folks. Chad, are you headed out? Yep, guys, thank you, Chad, for being my co-pilot here. Yeah, guys, space was glitching. I launched it on my iPhone this morning. Really need to get my devices cleaned, I think. But yeah, so I launched, saw you guys there, couldn't hear, couldn't do anything. So went back and launched on my Samsung. And of course, Samsung always has problems with spaces, especially when they're recorded. So thank you, Chad, for being my co-host this morning, just in case I had to drop that and come back in. Hey, Positive, you're still holding a mic. Did you want to share some thoughts before we head out today?
My mic was cut off the whole entire space, so I couldn't get in. I didn't want to drop until you were nearly done. I just want to say this. DTCC, if you're listening, you're next.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So guys, if you're not certain what Chad just spoke about there, JT let us know that he sat down face to face with Ralph Norman, had a conversation about the DTCC and what information they may or may not have. And Norman, JT's throwing me 100% there. And Norman's office indicated that in the next few weeks that they potentially will be sitting down with the DTC and having that tough conversation. So number 9, folks, number 9. I don't think there is anyone better equipped to answer those questions on the open letter. So also want to do a shout out to Representative Ralph Norman. It is very clear that he is trying and attempting to turn every stone, every pathway to get us the information that we need. So thank you to Ralph Norman. Just so you guys know, he is not the chair of a committee or subcommittee. He does not have the authority alone to call a hearing or to issue subpoenas. So it is very clear, at least to me, that he is doing everything possible to assist us in this situation. JT, who has been in close contact with him for over a year. I believe JT, I'm not certain, but I think you reached out to him within the first 1 or 2 months. Yep, he's saying 100%. So really appreciate JT your efforts, and I know other people in Ralph Norman's district have been reaching out to him. Of course, Alex Biscuit and others. Really appreciate your efforts, and I really appreciate him as well. So, okay, guys, here is the man himself, the magic man, Busy Brands. Good morning, Busy. Welcome to the mic.
Hey, good morning, Savvy. So just want to give the community a little update here. Yesterday, I had another meeting with the Texas Attorney General's office. It went fairly well. I know everybody's wondering if that information was shared. That was the purpose of the meeting. It was explained to them thoroughly with another person that was on the call. And there's some moving parts at that office, so we just wanted to make sure that our relationship with that office stays intact, and that was again the purpose for that meeting also. So it went well. They are aware that information has been shared, and since there's moving parts with new personnel, that new personnel already has spoken with McCabe, so that office is in contact again with McCabe. They've been giving this information, and that's all I want to share. But keep pushing, guys. Reach out to your state's attorney generals, file those complaints. But yeah, that's it. Good meeting, successful, and we just got to keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go, Brave Snail. Answered that question right there. So thank you for that, Busy. I know Busy was a little absent yesterday, and I just knew, he was working hard, and he was. So thank you, Busy, for always keeping the best interests of the community at heart. So thank you for that. Appreciate you and all your hard work, especially with the attorney generals and more. So. Okay, guys, and also another thing that Busy did, of course, worked with Wes and his staff to solidify our conversation with Wes Christian. Of course, he is the retained attorney for Metamaterials who will be potentially filing a lawsuit in the next quarters regarding manipulative market activity against Metamaterials and the shareholders of Metamaterials. So that is going to be Monday, which is the 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Guys, as soon as probably the day before, I will officially release the link to that space. I want to get Wes to confirm the title, and also don't want to give the bad actors an opportunity to attack that space. But yeah, we will be having that conversation. If you have any questions that you would like me to ask Wes, we only have an hour with Wes, so I'm going to try to consolidate. And you guys know, Wes and myself are talkers. We can go and go and go, but we're going to try to keep it as concise as possible so that we can get the most information. And he will be discussing what he can about Meta and the lawsuit and the information that was gathered that they are basing this lawsuit on. He will potentially discuss some of his actions with other security firms and attorney generals, and then maybe a few other nuggets or two. So we really appreciate Wes. And as I say, Busy and I had a meeting with him about a week and a half ago, I think it was, Busy. And all I can say is Wes has been here the whole time, working in the background to make things happen. So his fingerprints are on everything, folks, everything. So maybe you'll hear a little bit more about that in in our space. So join us. Anyway, guys, I'm not sure. I can't see my computer shut down on me if Jarrell still has that space open. I'm going to go ahead and close, preserve this recording. Hopefully you guys can head on over there and contribute to that space and that recording and help Marduk out in his time of need. So thanks, everyone. Do what you know how to do. Leverage this information, post, repost, like, share, not only the recordings of last night, but the previous day in my space as well. And the information regarding the UPC committee and the people that ordered the code red and their gross conflicts of interest. Have a great day, guys. We'll talk soon. And guys, I don't think I'm going to do a space tomorrow. I have an event that day that I have to be prepared for. But if we do have more breaking news, or if I get up and just get a wild burr, I will. But I'll let you guys know for certain in the morning. Thanks, guys. We'll talk Friday if not. Have a good one and keep it green when the markets open back up tomorrow.